G'day there guys, how many cats is too many cats, and why? This is Markee here, and we're back with another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love this content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a like on the video, and tell me what you think about all these stories down in the comments. Posted by user, My Groomsman's a Girl. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé we should call the wedding off if she doesn't approve of my female best man? Throwaway, cause I don't want people seeing my personal crap on my main account. So I, 28 male, proposed to my girlfriend Jasmine, 24 female, in March. Earlier this week, she and I were talking about wedding plans, and she already picked out who her bridesmaids were gonna be, and was questioning me about my groomsmen to see who we'd walk with and all that. I told her who I wanted to, and let her know that my best man was actually going to be my friend Kate, 27 female. Jasmine kind of freaked and was really adamant about her not being the best man. I asked her why, and she listed off a lot of reasons, none of which I believe. She said it'll look weird in the photos. It'll be weird when Kate has to walk down the aisle with her maid of honor, that she doesn't want Kate to be distracting to guests, that Kate's too short to stand next to a bunch of 6-foot-plus guys. The reasons were ridiculous, and I told her as much. She told me I should respect her wishes for the wedding, and gave me suggestions for other best men. I know the real reason might be jealousy, but I don't want to just drop it and go along with her insecurities. We ended up getting into a big argument. Jazz was upset that I wasn't budging on my stance, and I was mad she was acting so irrational. She was being really accusatory about why I wanted Kate in the wedding so bad. I told her if she doesn't want to let me have this one thing, maybe there shouldn't be a wedding at all. She got really angry and told me just to leave our apartment. I've been couch surfing at a friend's for the past couple of days, not Kate. Last time I tried to talk to Jazz, she asked if I was ready to apologize, and I said no, cause I don't want her to think that she was right about forbidding me from letting Kate be in the wedding. And before anyone asks, no. Kate and I have never been sexual or romantic. She's one of my closest friends and introduced me to my current social circle. I used to be an awkward nerdy guy who had trouble making friends. Now I'm an awkward nerdy guy with a social life. We survived grad school together, and she's been with me through highs and low parts of my life, and it seems insane to not include her in my wedding. Jazz and Kate know each other, but aren't friends. And over time, Jazz got used to me having a close female friend without being jealous and mistrusting. Or so I thought. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I should mention, Jasmine has never acted this way before and is usually pretty easygoing and understanding. And she didn't do so much as kick me out, as she said, well, maybe you should just go then. And I called her bluff and left. She tried to get me to come back and also apologize, but we are both hard-headed when it comes to what we want. I don't want to call off the wedding, and I get why Jazz was upset by me saying we should, but I wanted her to know how serious I was. Edit 2. No idea if anyone will read this. I didn't want to make a whole update post since it's only been a day, but anyways, I went back home today after cooling off, and Jazz and I had a long talk, and I'm not going into details. TLDR, we're not calling off the wedding, but we're going to talk about this more and try and come up with a mutual solution. No idea what that is yet. And just to address a few things I've seen a lot of, no, Kate is not single. Jazz and Kate are friendly, but they aren't friends. I'm not very close to any of Jazz's friends either. Kate and I have known each other for almost 7 years. I've been with Jazz for 2. I am not attracted to Kate, and we're not going to run off into the sunset together. Stop watching bad rom-coms. It's 2020. I can be friends with a woman without wanting to sleep with her. I'm not choosing another woman over Jazz. If Kate were a man and Jazz didn't want him in the wedding, I'd have the right to be ticked. But since Kate's a woman, suddenly I don't love my fiancé enough? That's bullcrap. Oh, and if you've implied I'm gonna have an affair and already cheated, F off. Look, yeah, it's one of those situations again. We put the shoe on the other foot. We swap the genders. There really wouldn't be an issue there. But the fact that it's a female, there is an issue there. I really don't understand where that insecurity is coming from and why she thinks she has a right to decide who gets to be the best man. It's his choice. He chose who he's going to have there at the wedding. I don't get why the wife is being so hard-headed. It's kind of silly. It's kind of stupid. I don't agree with it. And I don't blame OP for putting a hard stance on this one, so I don't think they're the a-hole for doing what they've done. Not the a-hole. This wedding is just as much your day as it is hers, and you absolutely deserve to have someone up there that you trust as your best woman and man. Your fiancé needs to not only recognize that, but figure out whatever insecurity is causing her to lash out in this manner. I really don't think it's insecurities as much as wanting a picture-perfect, traditional wedding party, bridezilla. But what will other people think? And the pictures won't match man, woman. She said it herself when she mentioned them walking down the aisle. I don't think so. Those sound like deflecting reasons to me, like she's trying to come up with any reason other than the real one, based on the amount of reasons she provides and her apparent lack of depth to support them, and OP saying he doesn't believe them to be reasons. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé we should call off the wedding if she doesn't approve of my female best man? My fiancé and I ended up making up and reconciling a few days later. We were talking compromises, and it was still a touchy subject, but I thought it was going good and we'd recover. I wish I could leave it at that. She's now my ex-fiancé. A little over 2 weeks after our fight, a friend of Jazz contacted me. She told me Jasmine had been venting to her friends over the Kate situation, and she couldn't keep quiet any longer because it wasn't fair to me. This friend sent me messages between Jasmine and them, where Jasmine is essentially talking about not trusting me and Kate and saying some pretty derogatory things about her. If that was it, I'd be angry but not furious. Long story short, the conversation turns into some confusing conversation I didn't have much context for, but I got the gist. The friend that sent me the messages filled me in with what she knew. Basically, Jazz had an affair before we got engaged. It had allegedly just been one time with some guy she doesn't talk to anymore, but I don't know what to believe. Based on the message, it seems like that was the case. Apparently all of her friends knew about this, and I was being played the whole time. I talked to Jazz, and she denied it, but I told her I didn't care. She needed to leave. She was throwing a fit and refused to, so I left my own home again because of her. I told her I'd tell everyone what she did if she didn't pack up her crap and go by the time I returned. It worked. 2 days later, I came back and she was gone. She tried contacting me to set things right, but I'm not interested. She can keep the ring for all I care at this point. I just don't want to see her yet. I felt so stupid and worthless and embarrassed. I didn't tell anyone for the reason that we broke it off, and no idea what Jazz is telling people, and I don't care. The past month and a half has been a nightmare, but I've been slowly recovering my pride, and I'm trying to convince myself what she did was her own fault, not mine. It works about half the time. And because I know some of you are going to ask, because you think this is some fudging crappy rom-com, I didn't go running to Kate. I've hardly spoken to her or anyone else for a while now. I've been enjoying quarantine and being left alone. That's my final update on the situation. Those of you who said Jazz was being paranoid because she had something to hide can go pat yourselves on the back. Sorry to hear that, man. It seems like she was totally projecting onto you and Kate because she cheated, which happens quite a lot with cheaters. You did the right thing and will be better off for it, even though it sucks right now. Thank you. I'm gonna hijack your comment since it's the most popular sorry. I didn't expect to log back on with so much attention on my post. I wasn't even sure if people remembered the first one. I want to say thank you to everyone for all the kind things that have been said. I'm going to go through all the comments, so even if I don't reply, I promise I saw yours. I haven't spoken to almost anyone in my real life about this, so I just needed to tell someone and let it out. I figured Reddit was the best place, since I'm anonymous here and the embarrassment won't be as high. And I know being embarrassed is irrational, but that doesn't mean I can just turn it off. It's been a struggle, but it gets easier. And every day the urge to go and forgive her and beg her to take me back lessens a little bit more. It just sucks, you know? What I'm saying is just, Thanks, guys. Sucks to be in the situation, OP. Also sucks having to sift through a bunch of crappy advice on Reddit to get anything substantial. A lot of Redditors have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to relationships. The least you can do, however, is vent to Kate a little. Having one friend to do that helps with maintaining your sanity. This is the truest comment I've come across. But with this update, I've gotten a lot of messages from people who have been through the same thing. I appreciate the advice, but the camaraderie and sorry dude that sucks comments are pretty nice, not gonna lie. Sometimes you just have to feel like crap, you know? That sucks. And frankly, you should be talking to Kate because you should be talking to your friends and getting their support, and clearly she's a good friend, if not your best friend. So talk to her. Also, based on just this situation, 1. You're a good guy who stood by your good friend and your morals. 2. You're a good guy who tried to find compromise with your fiancé. And 3. You're a good guy who trusted your fiancé and loved her as you should have. 4. You got involved with someone who turned out to be stupid and worthless and should be embarrassed for screwing you over. Don't let this experience ruin your faith in yourself. Posted by user AmiTheA post throwaway, titled, Am I the a-hole for shouting at my ex in front of my daughters? I, 37 male, have 3 girls, 8, 10, and 12. Their mother walked out on us for another man when our youngest was around 4. My ex still stays in contact though and pays child support. A few weeks ago while doing laundry, I saw red spots on my oldest daughter's underwear. I asked her if she knew about it, and she cried and told me that she tried to call her mum, but my ex didn't call her back. She had been stuffing toilet paper in her underwear, hoping that that would work. I explained to her that periods are nothing to be ashamed of, and found some great resources online for us to review together. I took her to the store to pick out brands of feminine products that she wanted to use. She picked Playtex Sport because she's a gymnast. After we were done, I decided I should do the same thing with my other 2. My 12-year-old volunteered to be part of preparing them, and we made a whole night of it. It was wonderful, and I learned a lot. I even learned what a menstrual cup is, and how they benefit the environment. The other day, my ex called back. I'll usually arrange a video chat and leave the room so they can have some alone time, and when they're done chatting, I'll come back in to talk boring co-parenting stuff like school, bills, etc. This last time, my ex was furious with me for talking about periods with the girls. She shouted at me that I was sick and perverted. Why didn't I call her myself if I knew it was so urgent? I could have called one of their grandmas or aunts. But my mum has dementia, and while her mum and sisters call me a loser because I teach kindergarten, so I'm not fond of them. My ex told me I was being immature and should have just toughed it out for the girls. This really ticked me off, so I shouted back that maybe if she wasn't such a deadbeat and answered her goddamn phone once in a while, she could have handled this. I brought up everything she does that hurts them. She hasn't been to a single soccer game, piano recital, or gymnastics meet in 2 years. Every other weekend when they come home from her house, they go straight to their rooms, only to emerge hours later, asking me why she loves her new husband more than them. And what did they do to make her leave? My ex responded by saying, I should tell them it's not their fault I couldn't satisfy her. And I screamed, F you, and she just smirked and pointed behind me, saying, look what you did. When I turned around, my 8-year-old and 10-year-old were standing in the doorway crying. It broke my heart. I never shout, so I know I scared them. My 12-year-old stormed in and started screaming at her mum, and while I appreciate her sticking up for me, this is not a battle I want her fighting. My ex hung up before I could fully de-escalate the situation, and let's just say the girls have been given free reign of the ice cream and limitless hours of video games because I feel so bad. I even watched all the Twilight movies with them, so don't say I don't love them. But in this instance, am I the a-hole for shouting? No, she was trying to get a rise out of you, and she got the reaction that she wanted because she knew which strings to pull at, because she's an awful, terrible person. If she really wanted to care about her daughters, and she really wanted to see them thrive, she wouldn't be putting you through all this manipulative bullcrap. So I can't blame you for reacting the way you did, OP. You're trying to look out for your daughters, but from every which way that you go about it, they're attacking you because you're trying and they don't agree with your decisions. So you really are stuck in an impossible situation. You love your daughters and you're doing the best for them. She's a terrible person, and that's just the hand that you're dealt in life, and we just have to keep moving with the punches. But for what you've done in this situation, you're not the a-hole. Update: am I the a-hole for shouting at my ex in front of my daughters? It's been almost a month since my original post, and a lot has happened since then. Many of you asked for an update, so here goes. Last weekend, the girls were at their mum's. After she dropped them off Sunday night, my 12-year-old asked me to talk to me in private. We went into her room, and she showed me 2 recordings she'd taken on her phone. One of my ex trying to convince them I was abusing them, and one of her and her husband arguing about how much she was paying in child support. And I'll be honest here, my cousin is a family court lawyer and basically raked her over the coals. It wasn't pretty, but I was still extremely hurt over the affair. I even got alimony. Anyway, my 12-year-old told me she didn't want to go to her mum's anymore, but she said she felt she had to because she's the oldest sibling, and it's her job to protect the younger ones. I have always instilled this value in her. I'm an oldest child myself, but seeing this just made me even more upset, because now it's just another battle she's fighting that she shouldn't be. She also just started to figure out that her mum cheated, and over the past couple weeks, she started firing tons of questions at me about the timeline of their relationship that I couldn't really answer. And after showing me the recordings, she literally demanded I answer her, yes or no. Did her mum cheat on me? It wasn't easy, but I told her the truth, with the promise she wouldn't tell her sisters. As much as it sucks, that's my job, not hers. The way she cried on my shoulder was the most heartbreaking thing I've ever experienced, but she was catching on, and I figured if she's going to find out regardless, it should be in a setting where she's comfortable. After she was done crying, I told her to email me the recordings that she took, and I called my cousin. We've just started the paperwork, but my cousin is certain we can get the ex nailed for parental alienation, and since she got a promotion a few months ago, I should be able to renegotiate the child support payments as well. Most importantly, the recordings should be enough to give me grounds for supervised visits only, which is what I want. I still want the girls to have a relationship with their mum, especially since the youngest 2 still want to see her, and I'm just going to have to make sure that I'm present at all times when they're with her. Co-parenting is oodles of fun, kids. Anyway, I also want to give a huge thank you to all the supportive comments and messages. I only saw most of the DMs recently because I use the Reddit is Fun app on my phone, and for some reason it doesn't show chat room messages. I'm not the best with technology, seeing as my most valuable job skill is hurting 5-year-olds, but I wouldn't trade it for any other career. Thank you for all your support, Reddit. Reading this and the original post you made is making me all emotional and crap. You seem like truly good people, and not only are your daughters lucky to have you, but you're giving the other little kids a leg up as they start their paths as well. You're a rare breed and you're good for this world. Keep on keeping on, you magnificent idiot. I wish nothing but the best for you. This is what I remind myself of every time I have to clean up vomit, or remind a kid to stop picking their nose. It's not always easy, but it's absolutely worth it. I'm sure it can be like herding cats at times, but you know what? I'm almost 40 years old, and I still remember my kindergarten teacher. The good ones make a difference, and I think you have a lot to give. I said it in your original post, and I'll say it again. You sound like an amazing dad, and your girls are lucky to have you. You were doing an amazing job, and even knowing that she's trying to turn your girls against you, you were still trying to facilitate a relationship between them and her for their sakes. As someone who was a bit of a mama's boy myself, it's just so hard for me to not picture my kids not having a good relationship with their mother too. I just want them to be healthy and happy. It can be hard though. I'm gonna hazard a guess that your mother is nothing like their mother, OP. What you're doing is really great, and it definitely sounds like supervised visits are going to be healthier for them. The only thing I'd ask, as someone who has crappy family, is to make sure your kids know that they don't have to like their mum or want to be around her. It's definitely something that should be handled with a therapist assisting with the language, but in trying to facilitate a good relationship with their mum, you want to be sure that they know that they can always speak up to you about not liking seeing her and not being labeled as bad or wrong. How saintly can you get, my guy? No, seriously, stop it. You're making everyone look bad, lol. I do hope for an update when she finds out about those videos, lol, but that will be epic. Just a little advice, you better be more tech savvy. Those 5-year-olds are getting used to it a lot quicker than us. And OP says, don't I know it? The amount of iPads I've had to take away. Why do people give their kindergarteners iPads? Maybe I'm just old, lol.